All right, this is lesson 91. This is doing volume of a prism. I thought it might be a little bit easier to just do this as as you would see it, because I don't know, I just thought it'd be easier. So that is why there's this awkward Kleenex box here so that it holds the camera steady. Hopefully. I'm sorry that this is just a mess, but it's okay. We're almost done. Only a few more weeks. So, recall from lesson 90 that a prism is a solid figure that has two congruent parallel polygons as bases. The bases are joined by rectangles at each edge. To find the volume of a prism, use the formula V equals B times H, where B is the area of the base and H is the height of the prism. Volume is expressed in cubic units. For metric measurements, the exponent is 3, such as centimeters 3. We say this as centimeters cubed. Okay, if you remember that from working with exponents. Find the volume of the prism pictured below. Okay, so what is a little bit tricky about this and confusing is that I learned this length times width times height, or WHL, or L. They are kind of combining steps, and so they're saying find the area of your base, and then take it times the height of the prism, okay? Both work. It's kind of just preference, which you like better to do. I think in some cases it is really nice to have that it's not really a shortcut, but to do it this way, and then other times it's just a little more work, and I'll show you, you'll kind of see how that works out here. So here they gave you the area of the base, 5 3/4, and then they took it times the height, so 6. And then they got their, see how they have cubic units? Usually we would write square inches or square feet. Now you're gonna, when you're working with volume, you're gonna write cubic inches or feet. Moving on to the cube, just like in area, you kind of have a shortcut with the cube because all of the sides of a cube are the same. So a cube is a prism whose length, width, and height are equal and has 6 square faces. To find the volume of a cube, you're going to use the formula V equals E cubed to the third, right? Where E is the length of an edge. So you find your edge, it's 5, right? And then you just take 5 times 5 times 5, which equals, in this case, 125 cubics, okay? So let's go ahead and scooch over to the classwork. Okay, so you are to find the volume of a rectangular prism. All measurements are given in feet. So traditionally, this is how you do it. You do your length is 7, your width is 4, and then your height is 2. And all you really have to do then is take 7 times 4 times 2. So 7 times 8 is 56, right? So you put 56 cubic feet. That's what they had it. So all they really, when they say B times H, and this is the area, you are going to have to find the area. So 7 times 4 is 28. And then you take it times that third part. So times 2, which is also 56. So that's what they want you to do. In this case, it doesn't really matter because it's the same. You're just taking it times, times, and times. But if you go down to, let me rearrange a little bit. Go down to this one, find the volume of this triangle or your prism deal. It's a little bit different. So your volume is the same, which is nice. Your area times your height. But when you look for a prism, what you're really doing is finding half of the length times the width times the height. This is makes sense because if you remember, a triangle is technically half of a rectangle. So you're finding half, that looks really bad. So you're finding half of the length times the height, right? So in a prism, it's the same way. Or look at this one. You can draw in your second half here, if I can see it. And then you just draw, and then it would be a prism. So it's the same thing. It's just half length times width times height. So in this case, you can find your area and it helps it make it a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and do that. So my area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So here, in this case, it's 1/2 of 3 times 4. 1/2 of 3 times 4 is 12, right? So that's 6. So then I got to take 6 times my last piece here. 6 times 5 equals 30. 30, am I working in inches? Nope, meters cubed, or 30 cubic meters. Okay, sorry, that's what I wrote. So then that would be your answer. So again, if you want to do it the other way, which is totally fine, you would just take 3 times 5 times 4. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 4 is 60. And then you got to take your half. Half of 60 equals 30. Okay, so it's the same thing. You're just doing it 2 different ways, all right? So that's the first page. I can go ahead and kind of walk you through. I don't have the second page printed out, but I can walk you through a couple on the chart. So the first chart we had, I will move it so that you can see a little bit better. The first one, they have the base of prism, area of base, prism height. So the square, oh here, use this one. So it's like that kind of. This one was 3 1/3, 1 3/4, and then they give you that height there. So what you want to do first is find the area. So that's length times width. So with the fractions, you're going to go, I'm going to move this over just a tad. I think the best way to do this is to make them improper fractions. So you have 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 over 3 times 4 times 1 is 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 over 4. And then you can simplify. You can go 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And that simplifies a little bit for you. I have 35 over 6. And that is 5 and 5 6 square inches because I'm working, this is just the area. So now I have my area of this, and then they went ahead and they just give you the height. So I got to take my height now of my prism times my, what is this, the area. So I'm going to do 5 and 5 6 times 2 and 3/5. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make it an improper fraction. So 6 times 5 is 30 plus 5 is 35 over 6 times 10 plus 3. No, yeah, 10 plus 3. This should be a 2. I'm sorry. 10 plus 2 is 12 over 5. And then they were really nice. They made this pretty easy to simplify. 5 can go into 5 once. 7, 6 can go into 6 once. 6 can go into 12 twice. So 7 times 2 is 14 over 1 equals 14 cubic inches. And then that's your volume. Okay. So that's how you're going to do these. Your next one, again, is a cubed. So you got to use the cube formula. That's your E edge cubed. So all you're doing for that is your edge is 2.1. Remember, it's a cube. Well, that was not a cube. I'm sorry. And then 2.1. So all you're going to do is go 2.1 to the third. So 2.1 times 2.1 times 2.1. Okay. So you can use your calculator for that one if you would like. I'm not going to work it out for you. I think you can handle that one. Let's look at this the third one. It's the triangle, and it has 2 square root 2 feet, and then it has 4 square root 2, and then your middle is 3 square root 2 as well. There you go. Sorry, talking about it, but I'm not showing you that one because it's that next one there. So again, don't let the square roots scare you. If it's the same and you're adding, you can add them. If you're multiplying, you can multiply them. If they are different, you cannot add them, okay? Your squares. So all you're gonna do here is, again, find your area. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So my base is this, 2 plus 4 is 6, and then I have the same square, so I can do 6 squared, or 2 squared. So now I have A equals 1/2 of 6 square root 2 times my height, which is 3 square root 2, okay? Here's where you can do your half anytime. You can do your half now or later. I like to do it later just because, I don't know, that's what I like to do. But you could divide your 6 and you could just have 3 square root 2, 3 square root 2, and then when you multiply, it's insides and outsides. So 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 2 is 4. You can solve that. The square root of 4 is 2, so I have 9 times 2 equals 18. This is the square, right? So this is 18 feet square feet. All right, so that's the area for that. Then for my volume, I have to do B times H, which this was my B, right? So 18 square feet, and then they give me that times 3 square root 5, okay? So this one, I don't have a square root, but I can still multiply that. So all I have to do is take 18 times 3, that's 24, 3, 4, 5, 54, 54, and then square root 5, I can't do anything with my 5, it's just gonna stay there, and then that's your answer, so cubic feet. All right, so just keep working through that. You gotta find your area and then just multiply that times your height, which they give you in that column. If you have any questions, let me know.